Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Moon Esports channel. And today I am Jatman. I'm going to be interviewing our owner, Teddy. Just getting to dive into his mind a little bit, see what he's all about, get to know him a little bit better. Wanted to give the audience that. So, Teddy, thanks for joining me today. Firstly, just give me like the basics, the inspiration. Why did you start Moon? What was the motivation behind that?
It wasn't some overly complicated or crazy motivation. When I was a kid, I loved sports, the NBA, NHL, NFL, etc. And when you realize you're never going to be an athlete, I'm pretty athletic right now, I will say. Things like working in a team management or owning a team or something become a fantasy. And then when I started playing Fortnite in 2017, I started playing basically right after it came out. Chapter 1, Season 1. I slowly but surely became more interested in the Fortnite esports scene in particular, and then I educated myself on the broader esports scene, and I thought, why not start a team? Affordable. I mean, it's very expensive, but it's nothing compared to owning an actual pro sports franchise. And I figured, my background, I could come up with enough good ideas to keep the organization funded and growing, and that's what we did. So it's been 3 years now, so quite a long time, but no sign of slowing down.
So I want to skip around a little bit, but what kind of is your philosophy around esports and how you run the organization? What's your kind of philosophy around esports?
Yeah, so from the business side, you have to understand it's a content business. Just like pro sports, people want to watch people compete. They want to learn their stories. They want to understand overcoming adversity. They want to understand their personalities. They want to laugh, so on and so forth. So I think of it as an entertainment product that's still in its infancy. I still think it's honestly the first or second inning for esports in its trajectory over time. So for Moon Unit, I think we've slowed down a little bit on the content production, but as some focus has gone over to ClickUp, which I'm assuming we'll talk about in a little bit. But we're back on the content grind with you here. For Moon Unit, it's create content, create an audience, and then have things that you can market to the fans and supporters. But I think the most important thing is you build long-term support, fans of the organization, and then you can figure it out from there. But that's the way I see esports orgs working effectively, because it's quite a competitive space. There's, I think, lots of teams looking and vying for attention, and now an increasing number of eyeballs that are willing to go engage with their players, watch their content, root for them in tournaments, so on and so forth. But it is quite a competitive space. You're eking out like small game in the esports org scene. So but again, I think it's still really super early days. I think things like Fortnite Creative and the creator program there, that presents an opportunity for organizations. And I think we were the first organization to launch a branded map. I believe Dignitas was a few weeks after us with the Buka map, which obviously performed incredibly. So they nailed the marketing and they nailed the release of that. Yeah, primarily that's the way sports business works now. We'll see what happens with some of these franchise leagues, if they actually do grow, or if League of Legends or Valorant or Counter-Strike, they slowly get replaced by other esports over time, or more esports come onto the scene and just dilute the focus and upside there. That's probably a risk, but most esports have proven pretty resilient with their audiences, and now we're seeing in 2024, like basically across the board, every esport is growing again, which is pretty good, and I think bodes extremely well for the ecosystem as a whole.
Mm. I like that you said ecosystem because you're kind of building your own under the Moon moniker and just kind of what you're doing in your everyday life. You've got some. I don't think it does it justice to call them side projects, but you have additional ventures that you're pursuing. You know, We Clutch Up and the fantasy app. Kind of talk about the inspiration for those, and what is it, like a strategic business move that you're trying to diversify, or what was the engine behind that train, so to speak?
Yeah, no, it's a really, really awesome question. So the idea for Clutch Up actually came before I ever had the inkling of an idea to start Moon Unit. I went to the CES conference in Las Vegas. Must have been beginning of 2019, with a colleague of mine, and the theme, all the panels were around esports, and they were constantly talking about the blow up of Twitch, which like I think a lot of people don't realize that like Twitch hit a new level of growth with Fortnite. Like Twitch surfed the wave. A lot of these big streamers we see today, like initially Fortnite streamers, I think Ninja and Tfue are obviously the main ones, but you know, Cloak and the Tapman and Nick Merckx, who had audiences before, saw huge audiences there. So that was a really exciting and energetic conference. And then I thought to myself, okay, what are some, you know, business ventures in esports? It's a growing space, but it's dominated by Google and Amazon, right? Owning YouTube and Twitch, right? That's the main content distribution. So those are the two dominant, those are the two businesses that are going to profit by far the most from esports. So what could be some other businesses that you could form around esports? So I thought, okay, ESPN for esports, which is the vision long term for Clutch Up, and ESPN does like three or four things like really well to contribute to the overall sports ecosystem, aside from it being a great business for lots of reasons we can either not or get into later on. But it does four things really well, right? One, it just highlights players' skills really effectively, whether it's game highlights, top tens, all that stuff that we've been doing on Clutch Up since the start. I was inspired there. It's really good at taking the minutia of the sports season and keeping it engaging the whole time, right? In more digestible pieces. So that's one. Second is stories, right? And that's all over the sports ecosystem. That's where Clutch Up really started to do well, when we're saying we're going to focus really intensely on these really well thought out videos that tell stories of periods of time, of tournaments, of players' careers, you name it. The third thing that it does really well is it like stirs up controversy and debate, right? Stephen A. Smith is probably the biggest celebrity to come out of ESPN in the last 10 years, and it's off of the show First Take, right? It's purely off of him debating other people, and people get really animated by that. Conflict is, you know, a pretty natural thing that humans are drawn to. So, you know, this kind of insanely low stakes conflict. Sports debates is like really engaging to people, as it would seem. And then fourth is kind of what you'd call the second screen experience. So fantasy or gambling. Obviously, gambling's like so far off the table for Epic. Even though I did see a gambling app that was going viral on Twitter. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Gambling is so far off the table for Epic, but something like fantasy where you're playing with your friends and it's like another, it adds stakes to the games. It's another thing for you to do to remain engaged. So those are the kind of four things, and we're trying to do all of them. So obviously the fantasy app's coming. I'm working on a debate show. We'll see where that goes. A la First Take, Around the Horn, or In the Interruption. Those classics. We'll see where that goes. But yeah, so that's how I see it, and that's how I see the North Star for Clutch Up. And you called it a side project at the beginning. It's kind of the side project that's consuming a lot of the time, and
Yeah.
I think providing a lot of providing some longevity to the overall company, which is great, and it's been really exciting because it was like pretty, it's pretty tough a lot of times, right? Like low ROI businesses like esports. So it's been amazing, and yeah, I think it like ClutchUp is, I think, adding a lot of sustainability to the overall business, which is exciting.
So, esports is in a really interesting spot right now, I think, in a lot of ways. We kind of saw a dip or a recession, whatever you want to call it, in esports, and now we're kind of, I think, beginning to see the revival of that. You talked about 2024 is looking like a good year for a lot of esports. This resurgence is coming. Where do you see Moon going? What direction do you want it to be in? When you visualize, I want Moon to be this spot in X future, what are kind of your long-term plans?
Yeah, no, that's a really, so there's kind of like the short and medium term, and then there's the more longer term. So on the more longer term, I do want Moon Unit to be like known as a tier 1 organization, like, with the Team Liquid, 100 Thieves, whatever you name them. That's a long journey, and that takes a lot of time and resources, and that takes a lot of building up fandom from the start, and having rabid fans that you can translate from esport to esport, and who are going to kind of follow the logo of the team no matter what. So that's the long term, and who knows, that could take 5-10 years, like it could take a long time, but that's the long term. In the short term, going to be a focus on Fortnite for the foreseeable future. Like, there's absolutely no plans to focus on anything other than Fortnite. I think it'll probably be a few areas. One, produce engaging content, both short and long, is being an example of that. Two is maps. Build like good, unique, compelling maps. I think we have 4 pretty good ones right now. Specifically the hoverboard fighting one, where you do tricks, you upgrade your guns, and it's an FFA style map. Like, that is getting consistent plays. So continue to create unique maps that our fans and players can play, and that we can start to or continue to monetize at an increased rate. So that'll be another area. So I think that's probably where the business is. And then maybe there's some things further down the line, like it's been a trend since 2020 in the creator economy to come up with your own product. 100 Thieves did it with an energy drink, Juvie or something. Mr. Beast is obviously like most famously doing it with his chocolate bars. But there's been tons of different attempts. So probably we'll start looking into things like that. There's always a list. Anyone who founds a business or starts a business will realize is that there's a list of things that you want to do that is so far beyond your time and money constraints that it's just it's just about how resourceful can you be and how hard can you push things. And then lastly for Moonian, I mean, obviously the most important thing, right, is a competitive team, so winning. So this year we want 100%. We want to have a player competing in the global LAN. We didn't have that the last 2 years, which was a huge disappointment, and frankly, a failure on the team that we want to fix. We want to be back in top 10, top 5 is of FNCS, which we were pretty frequently in our first year. Right, we were winning lots of small and medium tournaments, and we were placing top 10, I think, in 3 or 4 FNCSs in a row when we first started. So we definitely want to get back there. I think competition is a really animating motivator for people and for teams. So hopefully, you and some of the other folks on the management team are animated by that, growth and winning. as much as I am.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been an exclusive interview with Teddy, the owner of Moon. If you liked what you saw, make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment down below if there's anyone else on the roster that you want to see, or anything that you want to see out of us in the near future for content. We will leave Teddy's Twitter and We Clutch Up and all the links in the description to make sure you check all of that out. And we'll see you in the next one. This is Chapman signing off for now. Peace.